figured that I should probably get on the mic and talk a little bit while showing some gameplay footage because, well, as you've seen, I haven't posted a video in a while. To be blunt, October has been a busy fucking month for me. Between coming back from Washington, and then doing a whole bunch of house sitting and a bunch of just other crap, and then my chihuahua that I've had for 17 years just passed away, and there was time I spent looking after him towards the end there. It was, it's been a busy month. So, I really haven't had a chance to barely had any time to really play some games. Some, but not much. Let alone actually sit down and review anything for real. And so I figured I should probably get on the mic and talk about that. But there was also the fact that the games that I was going to review, well, various complications came up. First of all, I was going to review Dance It's Your Stage, which it was a German low-budget Wii dancing game that came out like 2 years after its Wii release in Germany on Xbox Live Arcade, and then just this year, like a year later this year, they did a US Wii and PS3 release, and so I was going to review that because it's sort of this so bad it's good music game. It's amazing. It's not a good game, but the music is just so terrible, it's awesome. But then I find out that they actually put effort into the PS3 one. They put in move support, and they overhauled the graphics. They added new clothing pieces. I'm like, well, crap, now I gotta buy the PS3 one before I can, legitimately review it. Sure, I could review the 360 one and then do a review of the PS3 one later, but I'd rather kill two birds with one stone on that one. The other game I was thinking of reviewing was Dark Souls, and as you can see from this footage, okay, I've had the game since launch. This is as far as I've gotten. Yeah, that's not happening. Now, I need to say, I love From Software. Not just the Armored Core series or Otogi, but a lot of their other stuff. Like, they made Lost Kingdoms on the GameCube, which was this crazy action card battle game RPG, which was really neat and incredibly creative. There was Enchanted Arms, which I think was horribly undersold. Like, it has hilariously over-the-top cliche characters and a great battle system, and I had a lot of fun with it. I had to pick up the PS3 release because they said, like, they legitimately said, you know how we could make this game better? By letting you randomly burst into dance anywhere in the game. That was their added 6-axis support for the PS3 release. And I honestly can't fucking believe it. So, I need to hunt down a cheap copy of the PS3 one. But the big one for me, From Software, not only did they make Metal Wolf Cast, they made Ninja Blade. Oh my god, do I love Ninja Blade. That is a game that deserves a review. Now, From doesn't make the most super polished games or anything, but they're usually very creative and interesting and not quite like anything I've ever played before. And they're not all winners. I played Forbidden Kingdom. That was the second fashion action RPG for the PS2, and that game was pretty crap. But in general, they make some really interesting stuff. But I gotta say, I did not like Demon Souls, and I think it's rather overrated. Now, mind you, number one, I didn't get the game to start. This was the problem. My Demon Souls experience was to slog through 15 minutes of incredibly boring, painfully easy stage, only to get one-shotted by a knight with a lance on some fucking bridge, be sent back to the Nexus, have to go back through gotta slog back through the stage, 15 minutes of fighting the same boring-ass, easy-to-beat enemies, only to get one-shotted by the knight with the lance on the bridge again, because, fuck checkpoints. And it just got repetitive and boring, and I basically didn't beat the first boss. And everyone has told me that the game gets far better and far easier. It doesn't even really start until after you beat that first boss, because then the checkpoints actually work. Then you can actually level up. The game completely changes at that point. But I didn't make it to that point. And I do consider that a negative when it takes a lot of work to start your game. And this is the thing. If people said, I like Demon's Souls because it's rough around the edges and unusual and, it's weird. Like, yeah, it has some very bizarre, convoluted design choices, but I put up with them because I really like the atmosphere and I like the challenge, I'd be cool with that. We want to call it some kind of cult classic. We want to call it, or a grindhouse RPG. Oh, the jokes that could be made there. Yeah, they really put the grind in Grindhouse, am I right? But, something like that, yeah, I can accept that. But this thing was like, oh, Game of the Year, it's the most perfect game ever, it's gonna save gaming! It's such an amazing multiplayer experience. That right there, amazing multiplayer experience. That's when you know someone is lying through their teeth. The multiplayer in Demon's Souls, I couldn't even get it to work right. Like, I didn't even make it to the point where they let me get multiplayer. But I had a friend of mine play it. He got to that point. And, okay, there's two ways to do the lag compensation in your netcode. You either, A, pause and slow down the game while the lagging player catches up, or B, you have everyone teleport all over the place. You just skip to where they're supposed to be. In a competitive game, it's a better idea to slow the game down. In a cooperative game, it's a better idea to have the players teleport. They decided to slow the game down for Demon's Souls. And this was at a friend's house. He actually had, really good internet. And the game was slowing to a crawl. We were playing it at, half fucking speed. On top of the fact of the way the online play is set up, he was slogging through it at half fucking speed. And he gets to the boss, beats the boss, and gets disconnected before he gets his resurrection from the boss. He gets absolutely nothing for beating the boss. He had to spend his money on the torches needed to beat that boss, and he gets nothing for it. Absolutely nothing. And what makes it worse, he did this 3 times. 3 times in a row, he got disconnected after killing the boss. And the best part, this is the part that pisses me off. I tell this to a Demon's Soul fan, and they go, well, it's Demon's Souls, it's supposed to be hard. That's not an excuse for bad netcode. What kind of a retard are you? No, bad netcode. Bad netcode does not coincide with a more challenging game. That's not how it fucking works. But they honestly gave me that excuse. They're like, well, I'm glad the netcode was bad. That means that people won't invade my game and try to kill me. Oh, great, you're glad the netcode is bad, so that way you can't use one of the features that they put in the game. That's real fucking brilliant there, guys. And this is the kind of shit I hate. This Emperor's New Clothes attitude towards hard games. You know what? Ninja Gaiden sucks, too. Ninja Gaiden was a polished game, but I found the stage design terrible. I found it to be slow and bland, and I couldn't figure out where the fuck to go, and the cameras were fucking terrible. Honestly, for me, it was Resident Evil with ninjas. That was not an action game. Ninja Gaiden is not an action game. That's Resident Evil with ninjas. And I don't normally... And this is the thing that pisses me off. Is that people will... Every time I bring that up, they're like, oh, the game was just too hard for you. No! No, the game was too stupid for me. Because I couldn't find the fights. Because I needed to find a sparkly bit to shove in a door to proceed. And we spent 45 minutes in stage 2 in the burning ninja village because the camera decided to point itself some stupid ass direction. And whenever I bring this up, people go, why does everyone always complain about the camera in video games? Okay, that's my complaint. Okay, do you hear me complain about the camera in any other games I review? No, I don't complain about the camera. I make an exception for Ninja Gaiden, because the camera is pointing you in stupid fucking directions. It's way too fucking zoomed in. You're constantly being... And, like, the one time the game is hard, due to the camera, is because you're being hit by ninjas that are off fucking screen. Yeah, the ninjas are too good at being ninjas. You can't fucking see them, because the camera is too zoomed in, because Itagaki's a fucking retard. I'm a photographer. Everything has to look pretty. Fuck being useful. Ah! But that's the thing. That's the real problem. Is that this all started with Itagaki's claim. Like, he said, I am going to make a hard game. Ninja Gaiden is going to be hard. It's going to be a real challenge, and the only reason it would ever get bad reviews is just because the reviewers aren't good enough at the game. And as such, every reviewer had to hide any complaints they had about it for fear that it would be revealed that they're not a hardcore gamer. And so they had to call it like the most perfect game ever made, lest everyone laugh at them for pointing out the Emperor has no clothes. And as such, every gamer has done this same thing, where they're like, oh yeah, Ninja Gaiden is such a great game. Like, if you like it, it's a polished game. It has an interesting combat system. No, it's not a bad game. It wasn't to my taste. It was way too Resident Evil for me. Not nearly enough action. But I'm not going to call it a bad game. I'd call it not perfect, though. And that's the problem, is that Ninja Gaiden on the Xbox literally has a reputation for being the most perfect game ever made. No. That's the same bullcrap that happened with Demon Souls. Anyway, Dark Souls. I gotta be honest, Dark Souls, way fucking better. There's a lot of argument over whether Dark Souls is harder or easier than Demon Souls. I don't know, because I've heard arguments that go both ways, but I was actually able to start Dark Souls. I was able to get to the game of Dark Souls. I was able to gain levels in Dark Souls. Dark Souls is a much better made, better thought out game. It's like they looked at Demon Souls, looked at what worked, what didn't, and really sorted it out. Unfortunately, I still haven't gotten the actual online component of it to fucking work. Like, I tried once when I wasn't in a party, and just nothing fucking happened. And I love the fact that, yeah, you can't be in an Xbox Live party and play online. That's nice. I mean, they could at least show... I mean, okay, fine, you don't want me to talk with my party members. At least let me see the blood stains. Come on. But, yeah, Dark Souls, much better game, much better made. I can actually say this isn't, you know, super rough and weird. It's actually, like, a solid game. But, as you can see, I'm not very good at it. Never said I was. Never said I was some super amazing gamer. I'm more of a historian. Yes, that's my excuse. Dude, I've got over 50 different game systems. That's gotta be worth something. But I'm getting sidetracked. Stupid lack of self-confidence. But, as you can see, I'm not making any fucking progress in this game. I'm not particularly good at it. So, I can't really give it a fair review. I'd like to, if I ever get better at it, but it's not even really to my taste, because I don't really go for the dark atmosphere, and I'm not a challenge monger, and it's kind of slow. And one of the things that really annoys me is the way that, like, my sword keeps getting stuck on hallways and entryways, the way your sword tinks off of those. Just far too often you really got to pay attention to the clearance on your sword. So that's a thing. So there goes my review of Dark Souls. The new one that popped up that I want to review was the Real Steel game.